In this video, we're going to look at a website called Blended Play, and you can find it, as you can see here, at blendedplay.com. And what is this website? This website enables us to create our own educational games very easily, very quickly, simply by plugging in our own content, our own curriculum, into a form, and with a couple of button clicks, it creates for us a fun game to play with our students. And this website is an example of exactly what I was talking about in a previous video that I made last year called Customizable Educational Computer Games Overview 2016. And if you haven't watched that video, I think you should. But it basically talked about websites and resources that make it easy for us as teachers to create educational games. One example is classtools.net. Another example is superteachertools.us. And at the end of that video, I called for more such websites to be created and basically said, if you're aware of any, please send them to me. Unfortunately, to be honest, I haven't really gotten many replies or many responses about other content that's out there. And that's why I'm so excited about this new website called Blended Play. At least I think it's new. It's very much new to me. Like it says here, you bring the content, we bring the games. So I want to show you how to use this and also give you a quick glimpse of the 4 games that are available right now, with more to come most likely. You can see here on the blendedplay.com website, there's a link here that says Blended Play is entirely free. There's no upgrade option. It's just free. Sign up and start playing. Now, as you would imagine, because it is completely free, the compromise there is that there are ads. And so watch out for some of these ads. I have never seen anything inappropriate there, but there are buttons that appear from time to time that seem to be real buttons from the website, and they're really not. They're just ads. So watch out for that if you don't want to leave the website and go look at an ad. So I'm going to click on sign up, and there's a pretty easy form to fill out to sign up for the website. After you're done filling it out, just prove that you're a human, click next, and you will receive an email from Blended Play, and you'll need to click the link that's in that email in order to verify your account. Once you do verify the account, you can come back to blendedplay.com, you can sign in and start using the website. So let's take a look at the website. So here on the website, you can see that there are links to some information about how to use Blended Play. There's a member section, a forum, and some other help that you have. Here's an example of one of the ads that has a fake button, so watch out for that. But for now, I just want to click on Play a Game. And you can see that it brings up 4 different games, the 4 games that are available at this time. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed by these 4 games. They're pretty creative and don't just do the typical games that you find on a lot of educational game websites. The 4 games are Mountain Climber, Viking Fleet, Sushi Takeover, if you can believe it, and Space Sail. I'm going to go ahead and click on Mountain Climber, and it opens up with the game. And I'm going to turn down the volume just a little bit there. Now here at this point on this welcome screen, I can either start a brand new game or I can load a game that I've made in the past. In this case, just so you can see, I'll click on New Game. It gives some instructions, the rules of the game and how it works. You click Next, and then you can pick the number of climbers. Now the first time I used this, I was a little confused, but basically by number of climbers, it's just asking how many teams are going to be playing this game. So let's say 4 teams. Next, what's the size of this mountain climber mountain? Is it Mount Washington, Kilimanjaro, or Everest? And it goes from small to medium to large. And that will also affect how long it takes to finish this game. So I'm going to go with Kilimanjaro, a medium-sized game. Next, do you want to display the questions on the screen, or do you want to just come up with the questions and share them out loud? And to be honest, I'm going to always choose yes on this. I want to display the questions on the screen. I just think it's easier. I don't have to come up with the questions on the spot, and I don't have to read them off a piece of paper or things like that. So I'm just going to say yes. I'll click submit, and it gives me a list here of 15 boxes, and I have to fill up these boxes with 15 questions. Now, if I had chosen Everest as the mountain climber mountain, I would have to fill in 20 questions. And notice that you can add additional questions. You can just click here to add additional slots. If you do that, though, let's say with the Kilimanjaro mountain, it can only really ask 15 questions. That's how big the mountain is. It's just 15 questions high. But you could still put in 20 questions, and they'll be randomly presented to the students. So that way, it's like creating a test item pool, a pool of, let's say, 30 questions, but only 10 are asked, and you never know which 10 are going to be asked. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. So give me a few minutes here, and I'll fill in these boxes with questions, and then I'll resume the video. Okay, now that I've got these questions entered into the boxes, I can actually go in and I can click Save Questions. And look what it did. It downloaded a copy of this list of questions and it saved it to my computer in the Downloads folder. Now this is going to be important later and I'll show you why further on in the video. But for now, I'll just click Submit. Now, before I click Submit, I want you to also know that it is possible to delete questions. You can just click the X to remove them. So if you add too many text boxes, you can just remove some with the X. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. It starts the game. And the first thing that my 4 teams have to do is decide what their team name is. So let's say Team 1 is not that creative. They could just be Team 1. And maybe they want to have this be their avatar. So anyway, give them a chance maybe to pick their avatars and then just click Submit. And then the game begins with a little animation of a climber getting ready to climb along with their team, Mount Kilimanjaro in this case. Now the way this works is a question is displayed at the top of the screen and the students in their individual teams, each team has to huddle together and try to figure out what the answer to the question is. And the way I think this works best is if each team writes down their final answer on a piece of paper or maybe an individual whiteboard, a small whiteboard that they can hide but then hold up and reveal their answer. And maybe you have a timer or just whenever you think time's up, you just say, okay, show me your answers. And let's say Team 1 got it right. Let's say Nathan and Sophia got it right. So I click Submit and it automatically advances the teams that got the answer right. Next question appears on the screen. This time, Team 1 and Nathan get it right, and Teresa. So I click Submit and it adjusts who's in the lead and where every team is. And this just proceeds through the up to 15 questions until we have a winner. And give me a minute and I'll show you what it looks like when you do eventually get a winner. Okay, so Team 1 is about to win. Team 1 actually wins. There's a fanfare, and then it takes us to a screen celebrating the winner. I'm going to end the game. So now that you've seen what that's like, let's close out of Mountain Climber because I want you to see that that same list of questions that I made for Mountain Climber can also be played in Viking Fleet. So I'm going to load that same list of questions and it takes me to my downloads folder. If it doesn't, you can find your downloads folder and pull up the questions. Click OK. Now you might want to rename that file instead of just questions. Maybe rename it parts of speech questions or whatever it is because you may end up with multiple questions files. But anyway, here's the instructions for the Viking Fleet game. It wants to know how many fleets. Again, this is number of teams is what it really is. The size of the map. Small, medium, large. And then do you want to display the questions? Yes, I do. There's my list of questions. I'll submit it. The students pick their avatars and their team names. And then when you're ready, just click Submit. We have a nice animation that plays, kind of setting the stage for the game. And the way this game works is the 4 teams, they take turns answering questions. So it's different than the mountain game that we looked at earlier. So in this case, it's Eric's turn, and Eric has to pick a square. And you're trying to find things that are hidden beneath, whether it's a ship or a sea monster or something like that. So I'm going to go with B3. So I click there, a question pops up. What part of speech is the word running? And let's say Eric gets it right. It's a verb. Eric got a point for getting the answer right, but look, there's nothing under that square. Next, it's Astrid's turn. Astrid picks C2, gets it right. Again, nothing to see there. So give me a second. I'm going to eventually strike gold under these squares. Let's see how long it takes me to do that. Okay, there we go. So we found a ship. Now, for getting this question right, Sigrid gets a point, but also a chance to answer a second question. What part of speech is the word kitten? Well, I know that. That's a noun. If I get that right, look, I got 3 additional points for that. So this is a turn-based game, as opposed to the previous game where all the teams answer simultaneously. This one is turn-based. It's kind of fun. I'll close out of that, and let's quickly look at Sushi Takeover. Here's Sushi Takeover. I'm going to load the same list of questions. And there's my instructions. Here's my chance to choose some options. There's my list of questions. I click Submit. Here are the characters that the different teams can use. They can change them. They can put a name for them. Here's my animation about the sushi roll. And now the game begins. And this game is pretty unique. I'm not aware of any game like this. But basically what you're trying to do, each team is trying to take as many spaces on this board as possible. And you can do that using wasabi or your sushi, etc. So team 1, it's your turn. Team 1 picks 2B. And in order to really claim that square, team 1 has to be able to answer this question right. The word pretty is an adjective, so it's correct. They've got that space. Now it's team 2's chance to take up a spot on the board. And so you're trying to get as many of your character on the board as you can. If you get 4 of your character all in adjacent squares, then your sushi gets bigger, and so it morphs into one big sushi. So kind of fun. And there's more strategy to it. If you read the instructions, you'll see that there are more strategic plays that you can use. The final game is called Space Sail. When you click on that, it takes you to an interesting game. I'm going to load the same questions again. And one reason I like blended play is I think that's a great model where the teacher does the work once, right? I put in my content once, but it can be played 4 different ways. I just think that's a great way to design a resource like this. I'm going to click Next and pick my options. Click Submit. There's my questions. Click Submit. Students can choose to customize their avatars and their names. And now we see that there's a crashed spaceship, and this astronaut needs some help putting back together the space shuttle. And to do that, this is another one of the games that has simultaneous play. So one question shows up on the screen, and the teams that get it right are going to be rewarded. Now, if you don't want students just writing their answers on a piece of paper or a small whiteboard, what you could do is you could buy a clicker system. And if you're interested in learning about some clicker systems, I have some links below this video that will take you to some pages about the different options that you have. Some of them are very inexpensive. Some of them are very expensive, hundreds of dollars. So it just depends on what you want, what you're willing to settle for. But if you're interested, you can click below and see some of the better options that there are. Okay, so let's say Team 1 and Team 2 get it right. Team 3 gets it wrong. Click Submit. And notice what happened. Team 1 and Team 2 earn some money. And you'll see why that's important in just a minute. So after the teams accumulate some points, what they're able to do is they're able to ask the teacher, hey, can I go to the space store? And once you go to the space store, each student has the option of purchasing space shuttle parts that they can use. Now, I said each student. It's really each team. Each team, they can discuss it as a team and say, hey, we should buy that, we should buy that. And then they can go back to the game, and you can see that their space shuttles are more complete than they were. They're getting fixed up so that they can return home. So again, a very creative game in my opinion. I'm pretty excited about blended play. I think that this is an example of what we need as teachers. At least it's one of the things that I think I need is activities like this that don't take me forever to build or to create, but my students will find them interesting or engaging, hopefully, and the games will help the students to practice or review the content that they've learned in the past. And if you're used to using websites like Kahoot or Quizzes or Socrative, I love those websites and the games that they have on them. I think they're fantastic, and if you haven't watched my video tutorials on those, you should. But each of those kind of requires that the students have their own devices, whether it's a laptop or you go to the computer lab or the students use their cell phones or whatever it might be. But blended play does not require that. You as the teacher can be the only person that has the device. You just project this game on the screen and involve the students in playing the game. So it's kind of nice, kind of a nice change up to those other tools that I mentioned earlier that, while fantastic, they do require the students to use their own devices and log in and get set up. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from Blended Play. I hope that they make more games in the near future. And I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please click the like button below this video. And please connect with me on my social media websites like Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And definitely do subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos about technology for teachers and students. And watch for another video from me at least every Monday.